Chosen one, if your heart has been restless lately, if your spirit feels like it has been hearing something beneath the noise, this message is not reaching you by accident. God is not whispering from a distance anymore. He is calling through the pressure, through the confusion, through the strange heaviness you have been carrying in silence. There are moments when heaven does not speak softly because the season is too important to ignore. This is one of those moments. You may have been asking why certain doors closed, why certain people left, why the battles became heavier right when you were trying to become stronger. But what you called chaos was not always chaos. Sometimes it was the sound of God interrupting the life you were never meant to settle for. Right now, His voice is reaching for the deepest part of you, not the polished version you show the world, not the tired version that keeps saying, "I am fine," but the real you, the one who still believes there must be more than surviving, more than waking up exhausted, more than carrying dreams that feel buried under disappointment. God is not speaking to the crowd. He is speaking to you. He has seen the nights you questioned your purpose, the tears you wiped away before anyone noticed, the strength it took to keep standing when something inside you wanted to collapse. And now He is saying, listen closely, because the season of being confused about who you are is coming to an end. The voice that called Moses from the fire, that raised David from the field, that lifted Joseph from the pit, is calling you now. You have felt that pull before, haven't you? That strange knowing in your soul that you were not created for an ordinary life, even when your circumstances kept trying to convince you otherwise. It showed up in the quiet moments, when everyone else was sleeping and you were staring into the dark, wondering why your spirit could not rest. It showed up when success around you looked loud, fast, and effortless, while your own path felt hidden, delayed, and misunderstood. But chosen one, the delay was not proof that God had forgotten you. The pressure was not proof that you were cursed. The silence was not evidence of abandonment. Sometimes God hides His strongest vessels in seasons where no one can applaud them, because He is building something in them that applause could never produce. He was teaching you to recognize His voice without needing the approval of people. He was training your spirit to stand when emotions shake, when plans collapse, when the world gives you every reason to quit. His voice is not like the noise of this age. It does not flatter your ego and then leave you empty. It does not rush you into comparison, panic, or performance. His voice brings fire, but also clarity. It burns away illusions. It exposes what is false. It calls you out of the life that looks safe, but slowly drains your soul. And this is why this moment matters. Because God is not only comforting you, He is waking you. He is calling you to pay attention to the signs, the closed doors, the sudden convictions, the repeated dreams, the relationships that no longer feel aligned, the hunger for something deeper that refuses to leave you. These are not random movements of emotion. They are divine signals. Heaven is turning up the volume because your destiny can no longer sleep under fear. When God speaks, He does not only give information, He releases power. The same voice that said, "Let there be light," still has the authority to separate darkness from your mind, confusion from your path, and fear from your future. That is why the enemy works so hard to keep you distracted. Because if you truly hear what God is saying about you, you will stop agreeing with the lies that kept you small. Look at your life carefully. The obstacles that once looked permanent are not as unmovable as they seemed. The debt, the rejection, the heartbreak, the shame, the fear of starting again, they looked like mountains because you were staring at them without the light of His voice. But when God speaks, what looked like a wall becomes a doorway. What looked like an ending becomes instruction. What looked like loss becomes redirection. Think about Moses standing before the burning bush. He did not feel qualified. He questioned his voice, his worth, his ability to carry what God was asking of him. Yet God did not call Moses because Moses felt ready. God called him because heaven had already placed an assignment on his life. In the same way, chosen one, you may be standing before your own burning bush right now. It may not look like fire in the desert. It may look like a repeated conviction, a restless dream, a door you keep feeling pulled toward, a version of yourself that keeps trying to rise. You are not being asked to have every answer. You are being asked to listen, trust, and take the next step. God's voice is not calling you into comfort. It is calling you into purpose. And purpose will always require you to leave the version of yourself that fear created. To be chosen does not mean you never feel weak. It does not mean you never question, never cry, never look at your life and wonder why the road has been so painful. Being chosen means that even in weakness, something inside you refuses to die. Even when you tried to walk away from the dream kept breathing. Even when people underestimated you, heaven still recognized what was placed inside of you. David was not standing in a palace when God saw a king. He was in a field, overlooked by his own family, doing work no one celebrated. Joseph was not sitting on a throne when God gave him visions. He was betrayed, sold, accused, and forgotten. Esther did not look like a deliverer at first. She looked like an orphan placed in a foreign palace. But when the appointed moment came, everything hidden inside them was revealed. Chosen one, your life may have felt like a long season of being unseen. You gave, and people still misunderstood you. You stayed faithful, and the results still seemed delayed. You prayed, and the answer seemed to move farther away. But God was not wasting your pain. He was teaching you discernment. He was separating you from voices that only loved your usefulness, not your soul. He was showing you that not every open door is divine, and not every closed door is rejection. Now his voice is telling you to rise with clarity. Stop calling yourself behind when God has been positioning you. Stop calling yourself forgotten when heaven has been protecting your name. The world may have seen weakness, but God saw preparation. The world may have seen delay, but God saw timing. And now, the voice of God is calling your hidden strength into the open. Listening to God does not always mean hearing a thunderous voice from heaven. Sometimes his voice arrives through a sudden peace you cannot explain, a sentence that pierces your heart, a warning in your spirit, a door that refuses to open no matter how hard you push. Sometimes he speaks through discomfort, because comfort has a way of making people stay in places where their soul is slowly dying. You have seen the signs, chosen one, the relationship that no longer feels right, the opportunity that looked good but left your spirit unsettled. The same message appearing again and again until you could no longer call it coincidence. God has been writing instructions across your life, but pain, fear, and distraction made it hard to read them clearly. This is why you must become still enough to hear him. Not still in weakness, but still in trust. The world keeps teaching you to rush, compare, prove, and perform. It tells you that if nothing is happening publicly, nothing is happening at all. But heaven works differently. Seeds grow in darkness before they break through the soil. Foundations are buried before houses rise. Oil is formed under pressure before it can be poured. Your hidden season was not empty. God was sharpening your discernment, strengthening your endurance, and cleansing your desire, so you would not chase blessings that could destroy your peace. He was teaching you to recognize his voice above the voice of panic. And now he is saying, pay attention. The next step may not be loud, but it will be clear. The confirmation may not come from everyone, but it will settle deeply in your spirit. When God speaks, confusion begins to lose its power, and obedience becomes the doorway into your breakthrough. When you begin to listen to God with a surrendered heart, something inside your life starts to shift before the outside world can even explain it. You may still be in the same room, with the same bills, the same responsibilities, the same unanswered questions, but your spirit begins to stand differently. Fear loses its grip. Confusion loses its voice. The burden that once made every step feel heavy begins to loosen, because God's voice does not only guide you, it strengthens you. Doors you never expected can begin to open, not because you forced them, but because alignment creates access. The right people start appearing. The wrong people begin falling away. Ideas that once felt impossible begin to feel assigned. You start seeing yourself differently, not as broken, rejected, or behind, but as someone being prepared for impact. Joseph understood this. He heard God in dreams before he ever saw a throne. But before the palace came the pit, before influence came betrayal, before authority came prison. Yet even in those hidden places, God's voice was shaping him. The pit did not cancel the promise. The prison did not destroy the dream. Every painful chapter became part of the preparation for the assignment he was born to carry. And chosen one, this is why you must not despise where you have been. Your pain has been teaching you language that comfort never could. Your losses have been removing attachments that would have weakened your calling. Your lonely seasons have been training your ear to recognize heaven without needing a crowd. But there is also a warning here. Ignoring God's voice delays what obedience is ready to unlock. Not because God wants to harm you, but because purpose cannot be carried by a heart that keeps running from instruction. Jonah ran, and the storm found him, but God's mercy still redirected him. Even now, if your life feels unsettled, it may be grace calling you back before you drift too far. What is God saying to you right now? He is saying that you are not finished. The dreams you buried because disappointment made them painful to touch are not dead. The hope you stopped speaking about because people laughed, doubted, or misunderstood you is still breathing beneath the surface. God is calling those hidden things back to life, not because you earned it perfectly, but because He planted them in you before fear ever touched your story. He is saying that your pain shaped you, but it was never meant to own you. The betrayal taught you discernment. The rejection taught you identity. The waiting taught you endurance. The silence taught you how to seek His presence without needing constant proof. Nothing was wasted. Every chapter you thought disqualified you was being woven into the testimony that will one day strengthen someone else. But chosen one, hearing God is not enough if you refuse to move. Esther could have stayed silent in the palace, protected by comfort, hidden behind position. But when her moment came, she understood that favor was not given only for safety. It was given for assignment. She had to speak, risk, and step forward. In the same way, God is asking you to stop hiding behind the excuse of not being ready. Readiness is not the absence of fear. Readiness is the decision to obey while fear is still trembling in the room. Your 15 minutes of listening may become the turning point where you stop negotiating with insecurity and start answering the call. Take one step, make one decision, release one burden, forgive one wound, begin one assignment. God is not asking you to become someone else. He is asking you to become fully who He created you to be. God's voice is not only a guide, it is also a shield. In a world filled with noise, pressure, comparison, fear, and endless opinions, His voice becomes the place where your spirit can breathe again. When you listen to Him, you stop allowing every criticism to become a command. You stop letting every rejection define your worth. You stop treating every delay as proof that your life is falling apart. Psalm 91 says that He will cover you, and under His wings you will find refuge. That promise is not poetry without power. It is a reminder that when you choose God's voice over the chaos of the world, you step under a protection that fear cannot understand. The storm may still rage around you, but it no longer gets to rule within you. You have carried burdens that were never meant to stay in your hands. The weight of the past, the anxiety about the future, the pressure to prove yourself, the pain of being misunderstood. God is saying, lay it down. You cannot walk fully into your calling while carrying chains He already gave you permission to release. This is not about chasing miracles as if God were far away and difficult to reach. This is about becoming a living testimony of what happens when a person truly surrenders. People will see the change before you explain it. They will notice the peace in your eyes, the strength in your silence, the courage in your steps. Chosen one, you are standing at a crossroads. One path leads back to fear, hesitation, and the old version of you. The other leads into obedience, purpose, and the life God has been preparing. His voice is calling. Do not turn away now. Right now, God is not only speaking to what you are facing, He is speaking to what you are becoming. He is rearranging things you cannot see, shifting people, closing traps, opening paths, and preparing provision in places you have not even reached yet. You may not have the evidence in your hands, but heaven has already begun the movement. This is why you must stop measuring God's faithfulness by what is visible today. Some blessings are formed in silence before they arrive in the open. Some doors are unlocked in the spirit before they swing open in the natural. Some answers are released long before your circumstances know how to reflect them. What feels delayed to you may already be moving under divine command. You have been through fire, chosen one. You faced situations that should have made you bitter, cold, and faithless. Yet something in you kept reaching for God. That was not weakness. That was evidence. His voice was keeping you alive when your emotions wanted to shut down. His hand was holding you when your strength was no longer enough. And now He is saying, the old story does not get to define the new chapter. The rejection, the loss, the humiliation, the waiting, they are not your identity. They are the ground where your obedience was tested. They are the evidence that you were being refined, not ruined. God is restoring what the locust has eaten. Not always in the same form, not always through the same people, not always through the door you expected, but with greater wisdom, deeper peace, and stronger purpose. What returns to you after God restores it will not control you the way it once did. You will carry it with maturity because the fire taught you how to steward blessing without losing yourself. Chosen one, this is the moment where listening must become obedience. God has spoken through the pressure, through the delay, through the closed doors, through the ache you tried to hide, and now He is asking for your yes. Not a perfect yes, not a fearless yes, a surrendered yes. The kind of yes that says, God, I may not see the whole road, but I trust the voice that is leading me. Your life is not an accident. Your battles were not random. Your tears were not invisible. Every season that felt like rejection was being used to refine your discernment. Every wilderness that made you feel forgotten was training you to depend on heaven more than applause. Every delay that broke your pride was protecting the promise from arriving before your character could carry it. Now God is calling you forward, not back into the old fear, not back into the old identity, not back into the small place where doubt made decisions for you. He is calling you into courage, into clarity, into purpose, into the version of you that was hidden beneath survival. Do not ignore this call, not because God is cruel, but because He loves you too deeply to let you live beneath what He created you for. Take the step, pray again, believe again, build again, forgive again, rise again. Let His voice become louder than every voice that told you it was too late. The door before you is not opening by accident. Heaven has been preparing this moment. Your story is not ending in confusion. It is beginning again in power, in faith, in restoration, and in divine purpose. Listen, obey, and walk forward. God is still speaking, and this time, you are ready.